Welcome to Getting Made. Today we are sitting down with cinematographer Brandon Cox. The last time we sat down with Brandon was in the middle of a writer's strike, and since then he has cruised through 4 incredible feature films, one of them being One Spoonful of Chocolate for RZA, which premiered at Tribeca, along with Mermaid with Mel Gibson, and also some international films that he is incredibly proud of. I always learn a ton when I sit down with Brandon. He is one of the most inspiring and hardworking cinematographers in the game today.
Real quick, a thank you to this episode's sponsors, Nature's Wildberry. Turn sour sweet. If you've got a sweet tooth and you're interested in maintaining a healthy lifestyle, take a look at Nature's Wildberry. You can find them on socials or search for their Shark Tank episode, or visit natureswildberry.com. Jaybird Coffee. If you love coffee, pick up some delicious chocolate truffle coffee at jaybirdcoffee.com. Airwolf Drones. Be it commercials, feature films, or live broadcast, Airwolf Drones has you covered from the air. Check out airwolfdrones.com.
And now, a conversation with Brandon Cox.
First return guest.
This is what you said. This is what you said. I'm glad I am the first.
Yeah.
And I hope I won't be the last.
No, bro.
And I'll come back anytime.
Dude, I'm so pumped because since we last spoke, you've just been cruising. I feel like you've just been cruising. Like I feel like it's at least 3 features have come out.
Yeah.
And at least 1 series, and there's other stuff that I'm missing, but I've just been like, man, he's working.
When was I here
so
last?
pumped.
When was it? 21 or 22?
He was in the middle of the writer's strike.
It was in the middle of writer's strike.
Yeah.
So that was like, it was 22. I think it was just happening. So I'm trying to think of what I did. Yeah, I did the movie in Puerto Rico, the Werewolves movie with Frank Grillo.
Yeah.
Then that, let's see. Okay, that was 22. And then I did a film in Colombia with Frank Grillo again. You got to work with John Swab.
Yeah.
He's got a new movie coming out called King Ivory about the fentanyl trade, that's going to hit pretty soon. That's an awesome movie.
Man, that stuff is so incredibly sad.
Oh, I know. And then I went to Nepal to do the Tibetan film.
Yes.
And then let's see, that was 23, and then 24 I worked with RZA again,
Yep.
Repeat Business.
Yep. Spoonful of chocolate.
One spoonful of chocolate, which did Tribeca. And then I did a film with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
And then just finished 2 weeks ago my first Netflix series with Bert Kreischer.
Heck yeah, man. Cruising,
See what's
dude.
next.
Non-stop.
It's crazy.
That's great.
It doesn't feel like it, but it's just like it's flown by.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, work begets work, so that's great.
Right.
We definitely want to talk on all of those, but there's a lot to cover. So the one that I wanted to talk about first was your adventures in Tibet. That was absolutely breathtaking. Like, how did that begin? How did that go about getting started for you? And then, like, when you embark on a crazy adventure like that, like that must take a lot of planning. Can you sort of discuss, like, when did you get the call? What does that look like? And then, like, how long did it take before the first call you got, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're out there, you're filming?
Yeah. So during the pandemic, so I'll go back to 2020, I had followed a Tibetan director named Shenpen Kashmir, and we started corresponding. And he said, "Oh, I'm a big fan of your work. I've seen some of your work. Would you want to do a Instagram live with me to talk about filmmaking?"
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we did that for an hour. We ended up extending it to a second hour.
Yeah.
And it was just fun. We talked the same language. We liked a lot of the same films, and just had a really good understanding of each other. Really admired each other's work. So then, at the end of that, he called me and said, "I think we're going to work together one day. I've got something for you." Sure. And then come around, let's see, we always talked from that moment on. We would text each other or Instagram message each other or get on FaceTime. And then I think it was around February or March of 22. He said, "I have this script. It's ready. I've been working on it for 13 years."
Oh my
Well,
God.
what's this about? So what it was about was he's a refugee. So his family fled Tibet
Yeah.
after the the PLA, which is People's Liberation Army of China,
Right.
invaded Tibet in 1959. So a lot of Tibetans are, you know, they're immigrants from another country, living in other countries. So a lot of them fled to Nepal, a lot to India, Europe, and the United States, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to Jaipur, which is, I'm sorry, in where was it? Where is it? Darjeeling. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Darjeeling. That's where he fled, and his family was there. And Darjeeling's not too far from Dharamsala, where the Dalai Lama lives, where he exiled to. So he said, "Read this script. Tell me what you think. It's really important to me. It's a really personal project." I said, "Sure." So what the script's about is when the PLA invaded in '59. All of the regions, there's 4 mountain regions there,
Mm-hmm.
all came together. All the soldiers, which I think like farmers, normal townspeople, whatnot, they came together to form what's called the Chushigandruk, which is the 4 rivers, 6 ranges.
Mm-hmm.
And they're banding together to fight Chinese, ill-equipped, ill-trained, horseback, guys on horseback with rifles. It's like your modern day 300 story, right?
Yeah.
And it's all true. And then one of their first missions was to not only engage the PLA, in little skirmishes, guerrilla warfare, but also to get the Dalai Lama safely out of Tibet and into India.
Wow.
And along the way, they were, met with resistance. But we follow the leader of that and how it was formed, and just put a microscope on that story. And so when after I read it, I called him. "This is incredible. I want to do this." It's just, your brain just starts going, and then I start looking up Tibet, and we say, well, we can't shoot in Tibet because China is occupied in Tibet, but we could shoot right near Tibet. We're going to shoot in Nepal.
Right.
Okay, cool. And he starts already showing me pictures of where he wants to shoot. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is just, whatever you can think of beautiful landscape, mountain ranges, everything, that was there.
Yeah.
The villages, towns, all this, it's just like it was like unkept, it's been there for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And so he had to get the financing, did that. Then once he did that, he had to find the cast because there's not a lot of Tibetan actors.
Right.
And he cast I think he cast 2 real actors. Everyone else was a first-time actor.
I think there's a real benefit to that.
It was crazy.
Because they're not bringing all that baggage from other movies,
Yeah. And the one guy we cast who plays real human being, General Tan, who was basically assigned by China to look over the whole takeover in Tibet, namely in the capital city of Tibet. We cast an actor by the name of Robert. Oh God, what is his last name escaping me? But Robert Lin. That's it. Robert he played Mao in Kundun, Scorsese's Kundun.
Wow.
And he has like some of the best lines where he's like, "Oh, religion is poison," and he looks at his shoes and, "I'll have some of your candies, Dalai Lama." Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
So I was already like, "Oh my God, this guy's amazing."
Yeah.
And he was great. And then there was a local actress in Nepal that we cast as another role, but everybody else was, first time.
Yeah.
And just an incredible eclectic group of people. Some from England, a lot from Nepal, India, some from the States.
Yeah.
And we all came together. And finally, when it became time to make the movie, and meanwhile, while we're setting all this up, Shen would he would FaceTime me or WhatsApp, "What do you think of this place?" And I'd say, "All right, turn this way." I'd go, "Which way's east? Which way's north?" And then I get my thing out and I'd say, I told him to get this app, Sunseeker.
Right.
I'd say, "Which way's the sun setting? Which way's the sun, rising?" And he'd be, "Just coming there to there." I'm like, "All right, good. This is great. Let me see that way."
Yeah.
And then I'd say, "Take a panoramic and send it to me."
Yeah.
We did that for months.
Wow.
And then finally, when it was come time to make the movie, I had some storyboards he had worked on, but he's like, oh, when you get here, we'll figure it out. So I flew into India, to
Mhm.
Mumbai.
Mhm.
That's where I met my camera crew.
By yourself. You're going on solo.
Just me, man.
Oh man.
Going in like the special forces, baby.
Wow.
And so they flew me over. I flew to Qatar, and then I flew to Mumbai,
Yeah.
Doha to Mumbai. And then in Mumbai, I met my crew.
Yeah.
So my crew came from Bollywood. These
Okay.
guys are like top notch.
These are people you've worked with before.
Never.
Never before.
So everybody on this film never worked.
You're
with
not
before.
nervous about this at all.
No, because I'm just used because I've shot all over the world.
Yes.
And so for me, you have to. Yes, don't get me wrong. There is a sense of urgency of like, oh my God, what if this goes wrong?
Right.
But I always just try to fit in there,
Yeah.
And I knew how serious Shen was, and I knew it wasn't BS. I knew he was really serious about this film, and I knew he was going to put me with the best people. And so when I got there, we go to the camera house. They have, Alexa 60 or 35. We're going to use that. They didn't have sort of anamorphic lenses that I was going for, but they had Atlas Orions, and I knew Dan Kane's.
They're
and
great.
They're workhorse.
Yeah.
That's what we'll go with. And so I wanted to show them because they just got their Alexa 35s. They said, we were doing a little test outside and then inside, and inside where the camera checkout was. I said, you guys have a candle or a match? Like, yeah. So they have that extended, sensitivity. You can turn on the camera. And I said, okay, turn off the lights. Shen hold the candle and then light the match.
Yeah.
To 2,500. Let's just see what happens. It goes, and everybody's like, oh my God. It's like, you guys never done this? Come on, this is fun. But, just to give them that, and just the ACs are all just pro. They'll work on big Bollywood films. My gimbal operator, and again, one of the best in the business. So he surrounded me with really good people.
Yeah.
And then we got all our gear, and then I stayed there probably a week, and then we flew to Nepal, and we're in Kathmandu. And then from Kathmandu, we had to get, I think our grip and electric team came from there, and we had to do a couple things there, and then we started on our way because you can't really fly to where we're going.
Right.
It's like 30 miles. It's in the middle of Nepal, but it's where we were. But then it's 30 miles where we had to go off of the Tibetan border. So we were close to Tibet, but we weren't in Tibet. And Nepal's kind of like stuck in the middle of politics. So it's like kind of caters to India, caters a little bit of China, but they're like stuck in the middle. And so but a lot of Tibetans live there. So we go on this. We couldn't fly there because the airport's like one of the most dangerous in the world. A lot of if the weather's not good, you don't go there.
Got it.
And so we drove.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the rains were the worst they've ever been.
Sure. Oh, because they knew you were coming.
Because
Yeah.
they knew I was coming. And what should have been an 8-hour journey turned into a 7-day journey.
Damn.
Because the roads are not proper. They're
Right.
like dirt and mud, and trees were falling, and stuff was falling down the cliffs. So they had to have a bulldozer come fix it, and then it'd be fine. So like the road's out for 3 days. We can't go. So we got to a certain point, and while this is all happening, by the way, just absolutely gorgeous scenery.
Yeah.
Right? Amazing. So we went to this city halfway called Pokhara, which is like a resort town where they have a lake and clubs and yoga getaways and all this stuff. And what was really good was it allowed the team to bond. And so what I mean is all the actors had to learn how to ride horses.
Yeah.
There was only one guy besides the director that knew how to ride a horse. So he basically taught everyone how to ride a horse.
So
this
this
was
was
the first time I ever rode a horse.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was like boot camp.
I was going to say, this is a huge blessing that you guys got these extra days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that the rain saved us. And so
Wow.
with that time, we used it wisely. Like there's a dance sequence that the traditional Tibetan dance that they had to do. And so and by the way, my director is also a composer.
Oh, okay.
So he composed all the music for the
Nice.
movie. And I'm not just talking like,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? All traditional mixed with Western. So it's got a style. And so he had the music ready, and we taught these guys the dance, and then we would kind of work out sort of choreography of action sequences, and while doing the horseback training and all that.
Yeah.
So then finally, when it became time to go, we made it up to Mustang, which is I think 12,500 feet
Mm-hmm.
above sea level.
Mm-hmm.
That was an experience.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask you about this because in my past, I almost died from elevation sickness.
I had that.
Okay.
That was fun.
So did you guys have a plan for, like, as you go up a couple hundred feet or whatever it is, camping and then slowly getting used to it, or is it just sort of like,
we lived at 12.5,
okay,
12.8, something like that, where we worked.
yeah.
It was 14.5, 5,000, 15,000. It was tough.
That's what I'm saying is, like, you do a small
So
staircase, all of a sudden you're
Oh
winded.
yeah, you walk down the street, you felt like you ran a marathon.
Yeah.
And I was not used to that. So
No.
it took me a couple of days. I collapsed actually one day.
Yeah.
One of our days off, luckily I had my phone with me. I was in the bathroom, and then
Yeah.
I had to sit down, and then
You were blacking out.
I was blacking out.
Oh my god.
And I called Shen. It's like, man, you better get over here.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. So he got me over there, and the doctor came, and he's like, oh, you're completely dehydrated.
Yeah.
I went through 3 bags of IV fluid, but then the next day after that, I was fine.
Yeah.
But it takes time to get that.
Yeah.
But
Acclimation.
once we got there, then it was about, he would workshop the actors on
Mhm.
scenes. We'd go up to where we're going to shoot, and we'd work on the battle scenes, work with the fight choreographer, all that, and then I looked at the locations finally, and then we started.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the movie now's come out, but the being there and being with those people and just being embraced by that culture was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I did something. I remember, I think it was this first week. At the end of the first week, we did this. The movie starts with the Chinese are bombing Tibetan people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then 2 of our heroes are in that village, and they sort of kill a couple of the Chinese PLA that have come and invade,
Mm-hmm.
taking their guns, and they're going throughout the city, sort of defending themselves to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's these corridors that go left, right, all uneven ground. Have cattle come through there, horses come through there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really, stable for a steady camera or whatever. But I have my gimbal operator.
Mm-hmm.
And at first we were like, we'll do it handheld. We were trying to figure out just to make everything work.
Mm-hmm.
But what we found out was, I said, what if we did this on the Ronin,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, Ronin 2. But what if we did it as a oneer?
Mm-hmm.
We all looked at each other, and I said, Boppy was my operator. I said, listen, man, this is going to be tough on your back. He's like, yeah, boss, let's go. So we wanted to do it. And the first day we were there, we did 2, but then we were losing the sun because we decided sort of later, because we had to figure this thing out.
Yes, of course.
And it ended up being 6.5 minutes.
Oh my god.
I've never done a 6.5 minute one in my life,
No way.
but there was something there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I told Shen, I said, listen, why don't we come back tomorrow in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
I know where the light's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Let's knock out 5 or 6 of these.
Oh, nice.
And really just get this dialed in. I think we could shave off a
Mhm.
minute and a half and get it to 450 or something like that.
Mm.
We did 5 takes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we used the 3rd one,
Nice.
but it's in the movie. They didn't
Oh,
cut it, and it was people that have seen the film
Mhm.
at the festivals and whatnot have just said, how did that evolve? What was
Yeah.
going on with that? And,
Yeah.
and it just was one of those things where Shen trusted me.
Mhm.
I trusted him. The gimbal operator was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things I was worried it was going to get, on the cutting room floor. And God bless editor, mentor, friend of mine, Howard Smith, cut, Point Break,
Yeah.
and a couple little movies. Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple little movies. I sent him a copy of the movie.
Yeah.
I said, can you watch this? Give me your honest opinion.
Mhm.
And really, I want you to look at the beginning, because there's a scene you're probably going to cringe that it needs to be cut.
Mm.
Yeah, a couple days go by. He calls me. He's like, don't cut that. He's like,
Mm.
that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I was like,
Nice.
oh, come on, man. He's like, no, it was amazing. So it was like that every day. Something was it was a big win. Everything
Yeah.
was a win,
Yeah.
and very emotional, because this is his baby, after we
Mhm.
did the one take, I remember he just I came back because I had a mimic, so I was operating the head,
Mm-hmm.
and my gimbal operators, doing that, so I could move while we're moving. But we looked ridiculous doing it. So if if you use a mimic from DJI, if you get turned a certain way, then you're stuck that way. Then you have to
Yes.
go up, and so then I
Right.
was turning all around while I was doing this
Yeah.
thing and do it. But I think I have a Polaroid of it somewhere, so or something. Somebody's got something. But I come back. We walked back from where we finished,
Mm-hmm.
and I see the director holding the monitor, and he's on one knee, and he's just like this, and I'm like, oh my god, something's wrong. And then I just see his emotional. It's overcome him
Yeah.
because he's just so happy
Yeah.
that he's finally making his movie,
Yeah.
and he's seeing what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like that all the time, man. And just the rewarding aspect of that film was just being there, being close to Tibet, working with those people, and really just making a film I was, really, really proud of.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I was gonna say it seemed like the camaraderie from that group was very high. Like it felt
yeah,
more like it all. I mean, I guess the mission aspect of the film's premise almost bled into the mission aspect of the filmmaking itself.
it
It
did,
seemed like, yeah.
it did. I mean, and then come afterwards, there's been all these stories. He's got a documentary too
Oh,
that he
good.
did,
I
by
was
the
gonna say
way.
it
Oh
sounds
yeah,
almost like Heart of Darkness.
it is,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I mean, we had to lie to the Nepali government
Right.
because we had to call it the Himalayan Robin Hood. That's what we called it, because anything that was
Yeah.
against China,
Right.
I mean, they're going
Can
to
get
come
shut
in and do
down.
that. Yeah, and all the weapons we used, they're all fake. They had to
Yeah.
make. You could use real guns. So
Did you ever have any spies or spotters or anything like
I
that?
thought we would. We
Yeah.
thought sometimes there'd be some drones coming overhead.
Yeah.
Oh, motherland, China, you're under arrest. No, that's what. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that, but you know how the PLA is, the CCP. But yeah, man, it was interesting. But like, yeah, we made a fake script.
Yeah.
We had to have like a police there every day.
That's
But
great.
they didn't really.
Yeah.
They would just. We'd have to give them the weapons every day, and then they come and bring them back to us. And it's so ridiculous because these things they're not
Rubber.
real.
Yeah.
They're wood.
Yeah.
They don't. But because we wanted to, do the right thing, and then we were met with just open arms and the city, and people loved us, and it was fun,
Yeah.
and I can't wait for people to see it.
Oh
I really
man.
can't. It's
Yeah.
been doing the festival circuit, so it's finally coming out in India, then in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it looks like a true epic, with these
Yeah.
incredible vistas and like these people that are wearing the traditional garb, and it just looks amazing.
Yeah, everything was firing on all cylinders, and to cap that up, we one of the highlights for me was we had a screening in New York,
Mhm.
Queens, at the Museum of the Moving Image,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a fantastic theater,
Mm-hmm.
and sold out all three shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a Chushi Gondrak warrior, who I guess his father was one.
Wow.
Because this went on from 59 to, I think, mid 80s,
Mm-hmm.
or late 70s, mid 80s, when they finally stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy was in tears saying thank you for making this movie, and thank you for doing what you do and the movies you work on, and working on this. I see myself in these guys. We have a superhero now. We have an actor
Wow.
we can look up to. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So when you can touch people that way,
Yeah.
it makes it all worth it.
That's like a once in a lifetime one. That's great, man.
Yeah, and Shen and I are going to work together again.
Oh, good.
He's got a film called Marpo,
Okay.
where the blood meets the robe.
Okay.
He wants to make a turn of the century sort of like 1600s, 1500s vampire Tibetan movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly. Take Game of Thrones and vampire lore and put it in a Tibetan setting. There you go.
Sick.
So it's gonna be fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So then the werewolf film.
Yeah.
How close were those two together?
So Werewolves was in spring summer of 22,
Okay.
and then Four Rivers was right now 2 years ago I would have been filming.
Right.
So it was like August 31st till October mid-October, but I went over there late July.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had like 4 or 5 weeks to prep.
Yeah, the work on that werewolf was fantastic.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that was fun. Yeah, and we shot that in Puerto Rico.
Oh
That
man.
was with Stephen Miller. That was the 7th
Yeah.
time we worked together. And we got what's his name? Alec Guinness,
Mhm.
Gillis,
Mhm.
the great effects guru. I mean, these
Yeah.
guys, he did Prey and
Mhm.
Alien 3 and the new Alien Covenant and all that stuff. But yeah, Steven wanted to go practical werewolves. And
Yeah.
that was something we were just kind of giving an old school throwback. And that was
Yeah.
fun. I'd never done a creature feature before.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a learning curve of it. Just working with Alec, since Alec was on Aliens,
Mhm.
Cameron.
Mhm. Heard of it?
Yeah, it's kind of a little movie, but when you have people like that have been doing it a while,
Yeah.
you sort of look to that guy.
Yeah.
Because I leaned heavily on him about constantly asking me, does this look real?
Right, right.
And it was weird because we did a test where I had this hallway as part of the set production design, and we said, "What you do in this hallway? Let's backlight it. Right, let's front light it. Let's side light it. Let's just hit it with a little light, tube light. This.
Right.
Just seeing what worked, what didn't." And it was weird. What we found was when the werewolf was further away, it was great. Then bring it a little closer, it's really good. Then there was like a really weird uncanny valley thing where you're kind of like, is it real or is it kind of fake? But then close up, it was like perfect. So you had to know that, like,
know your zones. Yeah.
And that was a learning curve for me. And then front light it, back light it, side light it, whatever, and then spraying it with water that gave it some sort of wet.
Yeah, all these movies from the 80s and 90s, most of them are wet. Like, it's so crazy.
But it just added a texture to it that made it feel real and lifelike. So there was that. And then, the problem with that film wasn't such a problem for me, but the poor bastards that had to wear that suit.
Oh, yeah.
In Puerto Rico
oh, my gosh.
in May. I mean, it was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot. And also, this was still COVID.
Right.
So everybody had to wear masks and the whole COVID protocol. And these dudes could work like 10 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then you'd see these guys just shove fans in the thing, and their heads in their neck. So they would just open this thing up, whatever. But yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of nights.
Yeah.
And I'm working with Frank was great.
Yeah.
Frank's the best.
Yeah.
He made it fun, and Steven really had a vision there. And
he's so passionate about movies.
He is. He's very passionate.
Yeah.
And he loves what he does.
Yeah.
And I love Frank. He's serious, and he just he always. I think he just wants everybody to be as serious as he is, or have as much passion as he does, and I respect that, man.
Yeah.
And good for him, man. I mean, look, Frank's on a roll right now.
Yeah,
he's Tulsa Kings and just did Superman, Peacemaker.
Anytime somebody has like that level of passion, they just need one thing to hit, and then it's like boom, 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 boom. It's like a domino effect, right? I met him one time, and he's good friends with my buddy Sheldon. Yeah. And I was like, hey man, my buddy Sheldon always says great things about you, and he just lit up. Immediately, he's like, friends. We're friends now. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was like so fast.
Because he's great. I mean, I want to see Frank. I would love to see Frank do something like kind of what The Rock just did.
This movie
that he's got coming out, where he just becomes really vulnerable.
The Machine, Smashing Machine.
Yeah, and I think Frank would be great. Like shave his head, lose weight, or something. Do some kind of crazy thing to where he's vulnerable, and because I think his range is so amazing.
Well, he did Fight World, right? That documentary.
Yeah. The one with Joe Carnahan.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah,
that was cool, and he was kind of like a Anthony Bourdain for the fight styles, which was the idea behind that. But I think he once we finished that film, there was a couple of months, and then he recommended me to shoot this other film, and he introduced me to John Swab, and he said, this is like a buddy of mine. I really want you to meet him. And I looked up John's work, and I was like, oh, I've seen these, heard of these. I've never watched these. And so I went and watched all his movies. And it was a military movie, like an extraction type film. And we shot in Puerto Rico, but then the producers at the time, we had ran out of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was in the fall of 22.
Mm-hmm.
So we only got maybe about 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that movie's going to go away. It's never going to come back. And then in the spring of 23, came back, but they placed those producers, moved the project to Colombia.
Okay.
So we filmed in Colombia. And, it was a blessing, and it worked. And we finished the movie,
Mm-hmm.
And again, another fantastic experience.
Yeah.
Had I not met Frank, I wouldn't have had that job.
Yeah.
And now John's career is taking off, and we're going to try to do some stuff. And it's just like, relationships in this thing, they just keep going. Right.
Yeah. And your willingness to just pick up and go. I mean, do you think,
that was the international year. 23 was international. Because soon after I finished that, then I went to Nepal.
Yeah.
So that was right after that.
Well, you've certainly got
during the strike.
Yeah. Well, so you got ahead of the curve, because now it's almost becoming mandatory, where it's like you just there's nothing to really shoot mostly in LA, so you just shoot overseas or whatever it is. But you were doing that a year or two before everyone else was.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe some of the ability to just pick up and go and sort of enter into these sort of missions, do you think that might have something to do with your upbringing? Do you think that because I know your dad was a Marine, and do you think watching him that sort of gave you any sort of influence as to because you just, for most people to just pick up and go someplace without having everything set up for them or having a handler or anything like that would be very intimidating.
Yeah, my dad, he instilled a really strong, work ethic in my brothers and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of use fear to sort of propel you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you should. And this is something I think a lot of kids coming up today are terrified of fear. They're terrified of failure.
Yeah. If they're feeling fear, they must be doing something wrong.
Exactly. And it's fear is a weapon, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's you have to just turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a fear there, but there's also the fear of the unknown for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is always, people are scared of it. I kind of invite it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hey man, what's going to happen?
Almost an indicator.
It is an indicator. And if I get a little spidey tingly sense about a project, and if it keeps itching me, I'm probably going to do it, and the one thing before my dad passed away, he had met Shen, the director of Four Rivers, online with me on FaceTime, and he said, "Oh, what's that? Who's that guy? What's the project?" And I told him about it, and he said, and then he's like, "Oh, grab the laptop." So we get the laptop. I start looking up Chushigandrug. We look up Tibet, what happened, the history. He's like, we were reading over everything, and he's like, "You got to make that movie, man. That's incredible." And so I never forgot that. And so I kind of did it for me. That movie was very cathartic for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very spiritual, life-changing experience for me. And to be that high, it's almost like you're touching God, right?
You're above the BS.
Above the BS.
Yeah.
And the thing about Nepal is, I don't know if you know, Nepal is sort of the epicenter of some spiritual magic, man. I mean, you have Buddhism, Hinduism, yogis. I'm sure there's some Christianity in there somewhere.
You just take a look around.
Islam, man. It's a magical place.
Yeah. All you gotta do is open your eyes.
High energy, man. High energy's going on there. So you feel that. And I felt we had the ancestors of the Chushigandrug, my father, Shen's family. They were all there. They were there for us. And so, I mean, to be able to just pick up and go, that's been sort of my thing. Obviously, if I had kids, I probably wouldn't be doing that, But, having a loved one that understands, and having a, just knowing that not all your work's going to be in Los Angeles. Not all of it's going to be in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And you got to realize, if you want to adapt in this business, man, you have to go where the work is. And so I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm hoping that there's going to be a resurgence of the indie spirit here as these. I always talk with a buddy of mine about this, and it's we have to sort of set on this message of hope yes, it's frustrating. Yes, there's discouraging moments, but like we're not without hope.
Yeah,
Like there,
right.
we can still keep the indie spirit alive if we, put our effort into it. And I think that it's a whole new world now, man. You can make movies
It is.
anywhere.
It
And if you
is.
get to make a movie in LA, wonderful.
Yeah.
And if you got to go elsewhere, that's wonderful too. But it would be lovely if the powers that be cared about keeping the epicenter, so to speak, or at least like a hub, a creative hub,
Yeah.
because it's like we have 100 years of infrastructure here. It would be nice to use it, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Some of the most talented people in the industry
oh
all
man,
live here.
insane talent,
Same
and
talent.
and so many. Like I was in a room the other day with like 98% of them aren't working, and these are the people, these are the legends that made movies that when I saw growing up, I was like, my world transformed.
Sure.
And I was like, it's a tragedy that 98% of these people aren't currently putting movies out into the world,
Right.
because that means that a whole younger generation is being deprived of that transformative power.
Yeah.
We got to get our stuff together. We got to figure this out. Like you're doing it. The rest of us in LA have got to figure this out. We've got to make it work.
Yeah. I have a friend that's on the Stay in LA campaign, and
Yeah.
she's been really at it, and she's a commercial producer, amazing person, Marie Dunaway. She's awesome. If anybody's ever worked with her, and she's really put her blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Yeah.
She's a native LA,
Yeah.
California and Los Angelino, is this what you call it? And whole family grew up here. She went to school here, and she's been, she does huge commercials,
Yeah.
and she doesn't want to see all these commercials go overseas or Mexico or here or there or whatever.
Yeah.
And so she's really active in that group. It's just the problem is she told me that, once you get to a certain point, the BS and the bureaucracy kicks in, and that's
Thick.
where people just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't understand the business.
Yeah. Or the powering of the lobbyists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're having to educate these people.
Right.
That don't really that's just, they're just movies, whatever, but you're not understanding. It's like she's got to say, there's a livelihood here. There's restaurants that depend on movies. There's this vendor that depends on movies. This person all works together, and when you pull the cord on all these things, this slows down. These people's livelihoods are done.
Yep.
And so that's just one thing. I mean, with me, I'm always talking with her, and I'm just like, God, are they ever going to get an incentive?
Right.
And I know they tried with this 750 thing,
Right.
but I don't know how much that's going to do. I hope it reignites something and
Yeah.
gets something going.
There seems to be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Sure.
But it would be wonderful if there was a federal overhaul as well, because clearly there's a holdup in Cali.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's like, not to put her on blast, but the LA Film Commission, Belle, she's lovely. She's a lovely person, but like she has already made up her mind that like it can't possibly compete with other states, and that's just not true.
No, it's not. It's just they have to be willing to be competitive with other states, and they have to rearrange where they put the money.
Yes.
And it seems like nobody wants to do that.
Right. Well, I think they don't want to talk about certain wheels that have been greased.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot, there's a lot of 3-letter acronym organizations that have put their stomp on that, and that's unfortunate. It's just it's just, you look at what Georgia's done, you look at what Texas is about to do.
Texas is booming.
What Louisiana's done, Ohio, all these places, Kentucky, New Jersey is exploding right now. Like they're building stages all over New Jersey, New Mexico, but they're doing it and they're still surviving, right? And I just don't understand why California can't rework some of this, what this state's done, what this state's, what's worked for all these places, and just maybe you don't want to have the incentive is higher than these places, but that's the only way you're going to get people to come back here, because let's just face it, man. California's expensive.
Yes.
And I know producers, man, and it's always the bottom line.
Always.
And if they know They don't care if you're going to pop out of your bed and go to work. They're just
Mm-hmm.
going to go where it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience.
yeah. So you're going to have to go there, or I
Right.
have to get a local there, so you can't come.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that sucks too.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that changes. But to go back to what we're talking about is to be able to pick up and go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't work here. I
Yeah.
don't work in LA.
Yeah.
I work everywhere but LA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just shot that Netflix series.
Yeah.
It was supposed to take place in Los Angeles, but it took place in Los Angeles Buckhead.
Right. Right.
That was that. So
How was Georgia for you?
Georgia's great. I've shot quite a bit there.
Mm-hmm.
So
It has like a little bit more of a family vibe than LA does at the moment, at least
at
from
the
what.
moment, yeah, and a lot of talented artists from LA and other places have moved there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're well trained. They have
Mm-hmm.
good crews, and people are great. And
Did you feel when Marvel just like picked up and went to London or went to the UK? Did
Yeah.
you feel like the vacuum effect or anything like that?
I think they did.
Yeah.
I think they're going through it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because previous times I've been there,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like at least 70 shows at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot, and you're jockeying to get crew, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because like normally they probably have like 4 or 5 really good crews, and then most cities are like that city's got 2 really good crews, and the rest whatever. LA, there's. You're deep, man.
Yeah.
You're real deep. I mean, you got like the crew upon the crew, the all-stars of all-stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're the good guys go quick.
Mm-hmm.
But now all those guys are available
Mm-hmm.
because their workflow. I mean, when I was there, I just finished. I know they were filming Cape Fear,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know why they're filming in Atlanta because that's Cape Fear's
Yeah.
on the coast.
Yeah.
But they were doing that. I think it's a Apple series.
Got it.
And then David O. Russell was filming or just finishing the Madden movie with Christian Bale and Nicolas Cage.
Right.
So, yeah, and then I found out this is a funny story. I found out that Christian Bale was staying in my hotel, so that was pretty cool.
Oh man,
we shared an elevator.
that's great.
Had our little moment.
Yeah.
But he was cool. Yeah.
I've got a great Christian Bale story. I'll tell you later.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. That's good.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, I love his work. He's amazing.
Yeah, Shane Hurlbutt, who got yelled at by him, is probably one of the most passionate, high energy, loving human beings on the planet. And I just love that Shane is just a force, dude.
Yeah,
he just makes
he's doing
stuff
really
happen.
well with his
Filmmakers
Academy. He's had friends of mine on there, which is great. And I love that he sort of gives you every aspect of the filmmaking world, which is great.
It's a massive, massive resource.
I mean, I wish I had that stuff when I was coming.
Right?
I never had any of that. We didn't have podcasts.
I know.
Oh, watch this YouTube video of how to do that. No, we didn't have that.
He doesn't like gatekeep anything. He's like, here's how I do it.
Yeah.
And just shows it.
And if you like this, you do it this way. If you
Yeah.
like this. But the guests he has are just top notch.
Yeah.
It's the best people, which is awesome.
Yeah, he is. Well, I think it's his passion that attracts that, I think, because he's so loving and he's so passionate. I honestly, if he could bottle up that energy and sell it, he'd be a billionaire.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we all could, right? But, I mean, it's cool. I mean, the resources we have right now are immense.
Abundant.
It's abundant, right?
Yeah. So we should be working.
Yeah, exactly. So, but now what's happening is Atlanta, going back to your Marvel thing, the Marvel flight out of Atlanta. I mean, they're filling it a little bit. Tyler Perry's there. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Those couple series are there, and some other series, and I think there was another couple features starting, but it wasn't what it was.
Right.
Let's say, a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem because Atlanta has a lot of studios.
Yes. Yeah.
And really nice studios.
Mm-hmm.
They have Trilith, which is what was Pinewood, and that's down south, but those studios are enormous.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then in and out around Atlanta, they have these two, but they're all, kind of dried up.
Yeah.
Tyler Perry's was working.
Yeah.
He was shooting stuff.
Well, he's a whole entity in himself.
Yeah, we can get into that later. It's like he's his own thing. But besides those things, man, that was really it.
Yeah.
And so they're feeling it. But I try to just keep going, man.
Yeah.
I try to go. So it's like, there had been talk of whatever I do next, something in Texas or something overseas. Um, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Because you got to go, and then eventually maybe I'll set roots in one of these places. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, okay. So after that, then you had Spoonful of Chocolate, One
Yep.
Spoonful of Chocolate.
Yep.
And which came first? One Spoonful of Chocolate came before Mermaid, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I filmed them both at the same year.
Oh, okay.
It was One Spoon and then Mermaid. So yeah, I had worked with RZA before in 2017, 2018 on a film called Cutthroat City.
Yeah.
We've remained friends.
Yeah.
And he called me right around Christmas of 23 and said, I'm going to send you a script. I want you to read it. Get back to me. I read it, loved it, went over to his house. We sat and talked about it for hours, had dinner, the whole thing. And I said, what are you thinking about doing this? He said, probably start prepping in March 24 and shoot in late April and, May, somewhere like that, and knock it out. So we did it. And again, like working with a cinematic brother, just such a creative force. Not only is he just musically just an incredible human being, just his brain, the way it works cinematically, it's almost like he's composing.
Well, yeah, I feel like there's a huge
cool
benefit to people who come from music to becoming directors.
Yeah. It's really cool. And to have a mentor that he had, is Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
That's where he learned how to make movies.
That's wild.
But that's sort of the physical part of it, right? But he was making movies since he was a kid.
Sure.
Because all of the references of these kung fu movies that he borrowed from in these exploitation films and these just odd films that I would have never watched.
Right.
And he'd be like, hey, have you seen this movie called Dr. Butcher?
Yeah.
I'm like, Dr. Butcher? What the hell is that? He's like, look it up on YouTube. So we look it up and I'm like, I watch it and you're just like, this is utter crap, man.
Right.
But then you really realize, I'm like, wait a minute. I got to remember when he saw this. It's like 1981 or something. And then I start looking at it with like a keen eye of like, okay, I see what he's trying to make me pull out here. And then when you watch his movies, he calls filmmaking sampling.
Yes, yeah, I get that.
Because we all sort of sample from the pie we like, right? That's all
creativity.
Tarantino does, right? He samples from movies he loves and he grew up on. That's all he's doing. And so he took a little bit of Dr. Butcher, took a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we put it all into One Spoon of Chocolate. And we worked with Shamik Moore again, he was leading Cutthroat City. RJ Seiler, who's an incredible actor. Blair Underwood, Paris Jackson. Who's great.
She's great,
She's super great. And Amari Crutchfield's girl, I had never worked with before. Beautiful actress, amazing, talented person. And just really, and then another guy, this guy named Harry Goodwins, he's in The Gentleman.
Okay.
He's the boxer, the brother.
What a great show.
Oh, what a great show. And he was incredible, man. And, just these incredible actors, man. And RZA just had this sort of eclectic group of people. And we filmed, and it was great, man. And we got into Tribeca.
Yes,
it was in June, and that was probably one of the most amazing screenings of a film I've ever had.
Yeah,
it's like Elvis Mitchell, the Q&A afterwards. Yeah. Right?
The Elvis Mitchell,
who I met, and I lost my mind when he actually had seen a few of my movies besides this one. I was like, no, you haven't seen that. He's like, yes, I've seen that. And I was like, oh, he was.
Yeah, he's got like an encyclopedic knowledge.
Yeah, and he said you should see when RZA, myself, and Quentin are all in the same room trying to stump each other.
Right.
Yeah. Like apparently RZA tells me Elvis and Quentin go at it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I've seen this.
Right.
I've seen this,
Yeah.
But they just pull, the knowledge of these guys, just the depth of where they come from, of what they could do. But that movie's special, and I'm so glad we did it. And RZA and I will probably do something again in the future.
That's amazing.
But I'm not sure when the release is going to come out. I think it's sometime this year.
Yeah.
I know they're still trying to work out the distribution. But he just got off a tour, and I saw him like a week ago. So he was going to fill me in on everything afterwards. But that was fun.
I think it's pretty helpful for somebody to have like a main staple passion.
Yeah.
And then also be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like filmmaking is it's amazing and it can energize you, but it can also be very taxing.
Yes.
And so like when somebody's a musician and that's their quote unquote bread and butter,
Mhm.
but then, they just happen to make films, it almost like takes the pressure off in a way.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's interesting how his brain works. I remember I was at his house once and he had a grand piano. I said, "Oh, you play piano?"
Mhm.
I didn't, but I taught myself.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
was like, "What?" Yeah, she said, "I taught myself how to read music."
Yeah.
I said, "Get out of here!" And he just goes down and sits down and starts playing Chopin. I'm
Yeah.
just like, "What is going on? This is incredible."
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on to compose an opera.
Yes.
But that musical background with him is so incredible because I felt he said this recently in an interview in Hollywood Reporter a couple weeks ago. He felt now with One Spoon he's arrived as a director. Everything was firing off the way he wanted.
Good.
And then the other films were just sort of I was sharpening his swords. Is the phrase he loves.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And
isn't it interesting how like when people view their own life through the lens of a journey, but almost like this sort of heroic travel, this heroic journey, right?
Yeah, it's almost like Kane and Kung Fu. Hate to use the Pulp Fiction reference.
Yeah. So he's observed all these films as a child, and he's put himself in that perspective of this person who has to, be the pupil and become the master.
Yeah, and that's what, and he said, what a better master to study under than Quentin, right?
Yeah.
And Quentin saw the movie.
I know. I remember.
And he loved it.
Yeah.
And to hear that.
Is that surreal or what?
Of course it's surreal. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah.
To hear that.
Yeah.
And he really, really liked it.
I love that.
He said he wouldn't stop talking about the story and Shamik's performance and just the way it looked and just everything. And to me, when somebody says, "Oh, that movie looked really good," I really didn't do my job. When they say that was a good movie, we did our job.
Yeah, when you suck them in,
suck them in, and it really got him. And that screening was super special, man. I mean, there was a lot of Wu-Tang fans in there, but there were also like people that weren't Wu-Tang, and when you get crowds cheering,
the buzz was huge, dude.
It was huge, man. Yeah, I've never had anything like that before. But awesome. To watch him evolve as a filmmaker and to be on that journey with him, it's been fun.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be something else in the future. Is gonna happen with that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing a couple of shots from that production. When you're, let's say for instance, like the gas station scene. Are you replacing lights? Are you rigging your own lights up there? Or are you just using what's available to you? Like, how's that working out?
Are you talking about the night exterior in
the
trailer?
Yeah.
So I would use the existing lights on the gas station pump area.
Got it.
And then on top of the convenience store, we put our own lights to make them look like it was still part of the gas station.
Okay, got it.
And then I would sculpture out or cut out lights in the background to create depth, because depth's
everything.
Right? You have to have depth. You can't just light the area and then not have anything back there.
Yeah.
So but we would use what we had and then built on that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's just what you have to. That's just, I don't know. That's just I've sort of done that.
Well, because when you sort of like separate from what everybody recognizes what a gas station feels like and looks like, right? So like if you do your own thing that's completely different, people are going to be like, well, this is the best lit gas station of all time,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Because I want to ride that sort of realism, surrealism kind of line. So, because I think if something looks too real, then you're not going to...
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like Dan Mandel's cinematography for me is... It's filmmaking, right?
Yeah, you're trying to create a feeling. Yeah,
you're trying to create a world.
Yeah,
same thing with Bob Richardson. It's like, it's not documentary, but it's also not, over polished. It's something else.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I was trying to do.
Do you remember? So during Raging Bull, when Michael Chapman was shooting those sequences for the montage for the wedding and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's like my favorite section of the film.
All the color stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So he was shooting it on a Super 16, and it was coming out too good. like because he was operating.
Sure.
So he got the union drivers to film those sequences.
That's
And
genius.
that's why it's like all over the
That's
place.
genius.
And it's like some of the most
But
touching.
but you never thought of that.
No.
You didn't think, oh, who operated that?
Right.
You just like, oh, it looks like a whole movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like some of the most
That's why it
touching
worked.
stuff. Yeah.
Because it was too perfect.
It was when Chapman was operating, it was too perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. I mean, I've like tried
Yeah.
to shoot stuff like that, and you're just like, God, stop. You got to remember, it's an amateur. It's an amateur,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's good. But I think we hit it out of the park with that. And
Amazing.
that again, that's another thing. RZA held on to that script since 2012. He's been trying to write that script.
Right.
And there came a point to where he was going to do another project, or we were, and he talked to QT and was like, I think you should do this. This is, you're going to put your heart and soul into this. And I'm glad he did, you know, and so we did.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder, right now they're doing all these like micro dramas, and like all the social media stuff is so fast and people's attention spans are so small.
Oh, yeah, these 9:16 micro dramas, right?
Yeah. And
like whatever.
Well, it's all, I mean, I think it's just,
it's work, but
I was watching this scene with Sidney Lumet the other day, and LeMay, and I always put the T on there on accident.
I do the same thing.
But he was talking about how the taste diminished with the advent of television. And he's like, when you would go watch a movie in the cinema, you were like, whoa. And then when TV came out, people got accustomed to the sort of like factory making of television.
Right.
And it almost feels like now, if you told somebody that you had a script from 2012 and that you've been incubating it for that long, like, I don't even know if a Gen Xer would even be like, could he process that, you know?
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, it's, you know, he paid for the movie himself.
Yeah.
And maybe we could have got funding for it if it was, you know, done that way, but he wanted to make it his. He didn't want to answer to anybody.
I think this is the way to go.
And that's the way he did it.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can afford it, go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, who holds on to something that long?
Yeah.
You know?
But it's like right now everybody wants to rush stuff. They're like, what are we rushing for? Like, why do you have to generate micro dramas 24/7? Is it because you need you need money,
or you need content or whatever?
Yeah.
Right? But it's just like how I have friends. I have some friends that are doing that, and I just, you know, I can't look at something like this.
We were talking about this earlier, right?
You know?
It's like when you narrow your field of view,
right?
It literally limits your outlook on life. And when you open up and you look at the entirety of the horizon, like studies have shown that it dictates the way you view the world in terms of being open and receptive to new things.
It's kind of a marketing gimmick, right? Because like, what's not to? Why can't you just take the phone and just do that? Market it like that.
You know what it
Do
is?
the flip.
It's monetizing addiction.
Right.
People are completely addicted to this motion. This motion of flicking and flipping and flipping and swiping.
And sort of getting the hunchback.
Yes.
While they're doing it, right?
And so they're just monetizing that, and they're making a killing doing it. And so,
yeah,
I don't know. But I think that there are certain people, you among them, that all I want to do is make sure that your films end up in the biggest screen possible, because it's a totally different immersive experience. When you look up and you're in wonder and awe, it's different than looking down and narrowing your field of view.
Yeah. To go back to Four Rivers, the first time I saw it in the movie theater was in Iowa this year.
Yeah.
Because I colored it online.
Yeah.
And I was watching on my computer screen. And just because I would have gone, it was just to get over there, was working and all that stuff. It's a big trip to go because we colored in Mumbai, colored in India. But to see it on a big screen, that's why I shot Animal Warfare.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's why everybody has such a response to that cinematography, because it's just, it feels big, even though it isn't big. Where I was and how I used those lenses, it made it feel otherworldly,
Mm-hmm.
and it made you. I think it's transporting people there. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I hope it is. I
Mm-hmm.
hope. I don't mean to sound
No.
arrogant in a way, but I feel that movie. It has to be seen on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
You can't watch it on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it does come out, I hope people do. And the same thing, like Riz is very big about watching movies in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with One Spoon, people responded to it in the
Mm-hmm.
theater.
Yeah.
So his goal is to get it in the theaters.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it will. It
Yeah.
will for sure.
You know, and that's a lot with Quentin. You know, Quentin's like the same way. It's
Yeah.
the same person in that sense.
I think that when the people that love the event film get behind something, it'll land in theaters.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
It's like they just sold out a whole bunch of the opening screenings of Odyssey a year in advance.
A year in advance.
What I mean? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, which is great because IMAX is such an event.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about that, how
Yeah.
just the format is so cool.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm sort of selling Shen on in the vampire movie. I said, why don't we shoot the 265 or the 65
Yeah.
and have some sequences in IMAX?
That would be
that,
sick.
of course, just
Yeah.
blew
Yeah.
his mind. So that's something that's on the table.
That would
But
be
that's
legit.
that's a format I really want to. I want to shoot. You know, I want to shoot 70 mil
Yeah.
before I kick the bucket on
You-
something. I want to shoot it. I just want to do it
You
once.
will. You'll be doing plenty of them.
I don't even have to do. I have an idea for one, and I know it would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get you. In touch with Smitty
Yeah,
Smith,
over to IMAX. Right?
the
Let's go
IMAX
talk to Smitty.
camera doctor. That dude's got some stories, dude.
I can only imagine.
Okay, so man, that's killer. I can't wait for that to come out. The
Yeah.
Spoonful of Chocolate, and then dun dun dun, you
Mermaid.
get the call for Mermaid.
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did you end up on that project?
A man by the name of Dan Katzman, who is a very, very talented first AD,
Mm-hmm.
executive producer. I've known him for a while. He called me and said, hey, I'm attached to this project. Mel Gibson starring, Raj Collins directing. It's in Atlanta. And the first thing I said was, well, how many days is Mel Gibson on?
Right.
4, 3?
Right.
And they said, no, he's running a show. I said, come on,
Mm.
really? Yeah, run a show. 20 days out of a 23-day schedule.
That's amazing.
24 days, I think.
But that's not typical that the first AD.
Because he was also executive producer.
Oh,
too.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he knew what was going on that
Okay.
way. So I send Raja my reel. I go meet him in Hollywood or at Bev Hills
Yeah.
Cigar Bar. We sit and talk.
Yeah.
He says, I want you to do it. And then within a week, I got on a plane, and there we go.
That's it.
And that was it. And then Mel came, and we met him, and he was great. It was cool because I get to talk to Mel a lot because we were staying in the same building. So
Right.
he was on the top floor. I was in the middle. Somebody run into him in the elevator, or we would
Yeah.
just on the weekends we'd watch UFC,
Yes.
have steaks,
Yeah.
or we'd go out to eat. You
Yeah.
know, and just I learned so much about who he was as a person and as a filmmaker. He's so open
Yeah.
about talking about all his work.
Yeah.
I asked him about Lethal Weapon 5. I asked
Yeah.
him about the Passion sequel
Yeah.
that he's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked him about his Viking project
Yeah.
that he almost made called Berserker.
Yeah.
And he gave me the script as a Berserker.
Yeah.
And man, it's so good.
Yeah.
I hope he makes that movie.
Oh man.
It's violent, but it's better than Braveheart, man.
Yeah.
And you just you look at him and you talk to him, and you're just like, man, that's a freaking movie star, man.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
been doing this a long time.
He's another one that has like natural high energy. He's
Very much so. But he was just so cool, and I'd tell him what I'm gonna do, and he'd be, oh yeah, what was it, 50? Okay, cool. He knew.
Yes, of
And
course.
with
yeah.
Mel, what you get is like when you put the camera up, you put the lens on, he just does all this stuff with his face, and
Mhm.
you're just like, you don't see it
Mhm.
if you're really watching it, and he just so consumes
Yeah.
the audience, and
Yeah.
it was so cool to capture that. But he was just great, man. And that project was, was like 24 days. We did that October, November, December
Mm-hmm.
of last year. It was just a nice way to go into the new year, you know.
That's crazy.
And just I mean, the story behind that is just um, it all revolves around an incident that happens. This young girl washes up on shore on a riverbed,
Mm-hmm.
thus the sort of like phrase mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
But what and Mel Gibson's daughter finds her because they live off the grid, and
Mm-hmm.
Mel lives with his daughter, and they hunt, fish, you know, grow their own vegetables, all that sort of stuff. They just kind of live away from. That was a small town, but they just do their own thing. She's homeschooled,
Yeah, yeah.
knows how to use a gun, all
Mm.
that, can chop wood, all this stuff, and I think it was a really cool role for Mel because I had, you know, he had a little Southern accent. I haven't really seen him do something like this because he's a father. You know, he had to be a father to this girl that had no mother.
Right.
And then this thing happens in their life, and he changes because he's changing, and he starts lying to her and all this. And she's like, "Dad, where are you going? Why are you taking the truck? You're never going to town." And then what you find out is, I just found a dead body down by the river there, and we just found this girl, and we found a dead body, and the girl that washed up, because she said there was another girl, there was a dead body. So the mermaid is the girl who they find. They take her in, they take care of her, they will lift her, you know, bring her back to health. But in the meantime, you find out this drug dealer that did this wants this girl back. This is all, you know, you've heard this story before, but like, just, I think how we did this, I did it in sort of a classic sort of Hollywood way, normally than from kind of a little bit of a departure from what I've normally done. So I did a lot of steady cam, but like slow moves and dolly slow moves and very symmetrical framing and a little wider than I normally do. And I really had fun with it. So, and kind of gave it more of a naturalistic feel, not an unnaturalistic feel color wise, which I'm coloring literally like right now. They're coloring in Sweden with our editor. He's a post house. And so I was giving notes this morning because they're there, and I just woke up. I was like, yeah, I was on the phone for like an hour. But it's fun, man. I mean, it's just, again, it's another paintbrush, man.
Yeah.
It's another crayon. It's another, you know, pencil in the tool set that you just, you know, Four Rivers had its thing. Long Gun Heroes, the Frank military movie, that Werewolves, and now Mermaid, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Different approach.
Different approach.
Yeah. I kind of feel like what you were just describing there with like the slow dolly pushes and everything, they always like ratchet up the suspense.
Right.
You know?
I just wanted to get back to it, like sort of a classic,
Yeah.
if you could say, Hollywood vibe, you know, and got back with Panavision on that one.
Yeah.
Did Anamorphic. Big stretch for me.
Yeah.
but I didn't, you know, I didn't really like, I just really was trying to be disciplined about it.
Yeah.
And really, you know, sort of zoned in on that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm normally not. It's just I was just trying to live by like, hey, we're not going to do anything closer than 100. You know, we're not going to.
You set some rules.
Yes, it's rules, man, and I just wanted to try to follow those rules. The camera's always slowly moving somehow, and you're experiencing things with Mel. I remember one day, when Mel discovers the body of the dead girl, you know, after the one girl they pull ashore and they nurse her to health. His daughter finds he finds a body, and then we were walking on the side of a riverbed where this bridge is, and sun was like perfect, and I get steady cam 40 right behind him, you know, pushing and pulling with the camera. I was just like, God damn, this looks like a movie, man. This is great, you know, and it just, the sun hit the lens the right way. You got the flare, the glisten off the water. I was just like, this is why you do this.
Yeah.
And then when you turn the camera around, you're like, there's Mel Gibson, you know, and then you're doing it, and it was fun. It was fun to see him in a role like that.
Yeah.
You know, and so I hope when that comes out, I hope people really sort of embrace, like, this guy's a freaking movie star.
Yeah.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun story. It's cool. We're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
It's just, it's a father and daughter story.
Yeah.
I mean, all he's trying to do is just protect his entirety of his family and hope nothing hurts this girl. So,
yeah, he's always had that great sort of that role locked down, where it's like the concerned father. When Father Folco had taken me over to his place, I saw this photo on his wall. That house is burned down now
Yeah,
from
and
the
one in
Malibu
Malibu,
fires.
unfortunately. Yeah,
Yeah, so on his wall he had a framed photo of him and Heath around a campfire from the Patriot.
right.
And I remember walking in there and looking at that and just being like, wow, like that looks like a father caring for his son. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And he kept that photo around after Heath had passed away.
yeah,
And I was just like, man, that says something. And it's just crazy that all that's been lost in the fire
yeah,
now.
yeah. And I've since talked to him, and I talked to his assistant, who's a really great guy, and I just say, hey, is everything okay? His family, he's like, yeah, all that's good, and he's like, it just he amounts it to just like stuff,
Yeah,
but there's things within that stuff that
yeah,
he can't get back.
right, yeah.
It's mostly photographs and books,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I know he's had a pretty rough year because of that, but
Mm-hmm.
I know him going off to make the two parts of Passion.
Oh yeah,
That's going to be really cathartic for
for
him.
sure, for
Because
sure.
Mel he's somebody that just should not be, he needs to be directing, man,
Oh, you gotta
and
be.
doing stuff. He is really one of the finest directors we
Yeah,
have,
that's
and
what he's
and
meant to be doing for
just it
sure.
100%. And I talked a lot with him about Braveheart.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'd be like, so Mel, he's like, what's up? I said, how many days Braveheart? Can I take a stab? He's like, yeah. I said, 89. He's like, 94.
Wow, wow, you're close.
94 days.
Yeah.
And I go, budget 50, 49.
That's insane, right?
1993, 94.
Yeah,
And he said, I mean, you got to think, man, this is my second movie as a
yeah.
director.
Man without a face,
But
right?
yeah, and they just let him go, and they trusted him. And
We had John Seal as DP on that, right?
on which one?
On Braveheart?
No, it was John Toll.
John Toll, that's right. I
Yeah,
always mix
and
that
how
up.
he met John Toll was a really funny story. His editor was doing Legends of the Fall.
Right, right, right.
And he said, you got to check this guy's work out, man.
Yeah.
And that's how. But
John Toll's cinematography is
the guy's
unreal.
mastered the day exterior, man. He's just incredible work. I mean, you really go for Thin Red Line to
Yes.
Last Samurai.
I just
to
watched
Legends
Thin
of
Red
Fall.
Line the other day.
Such a good film. I mean, and even on Braveheart, but just to hear that from Mel, and just I'd be like, what was like, how would you direct yourself? I was like that. He's like, honestly, man, I would just do 2 takes and that's it. And I would give, the other guys like, just do as many as you want.
Yeah.
He would do like 13 takes or 12 takes, 8 takes.
Yeah.
And his editor would be like, Mel, you got to do more than 2, man. He's like, no, I know what I need. I just, go. But he was on it, man.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot. That's a lot of hard work.
Of course.
To direct
and switch gears.
to switch
Oh,
gears
my
and
gosh.
act, and then keep your brain.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God he did it though.
Yeah.
But I do, and there's this, just to spend that time with him, I cherish that.
Yeah.
There was no bullshit about what happened in the past and all that. Just, and I know it sucks and all that, but just it was all about the work.
Yeah.
And how much he loves movies, and then you forget all the movies he's been in.
Oh man.
You're like, oh shit, yeah, he was in that. Oh yeah. So there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Or he'd brag on some movie. He's like, I did this dumb movie, and it was just kind of funny that like he's doing that. But yeah, that one's gonna be special. I think that one may come out December.
Nice.
Hopefully, I'll let you know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a win, dude.
That was
When I heard you were doing that, I was like over the moon for you. I was just like, that's great. That's epic.
It was fun, man, just like to have sort of like Werewolves and then Long Gone Heroes, take a break, then go back, finish that, then go do Four Rivers, then come back the next year, shoot One Spoon, and then shoot that.
Yeah.
And then only to tee up, being in this post-strike era, and then to finally just, wrap it up with the Bert Kreischer experience there on Netflix, which was great.
Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, how do you feel about going from like feature to series? Like, is there like, what's the difference between those two realms for you? Is it similar
it's similar, but you have episodes, and in our case, of the 30-minute episode window, and there were 6, but you constantly have to keep the story, and you're obviously on a feature you do too, but you got to remember all right, what episode are we doing? What part is this from? Because, you know, if you're at the location, you're going to be at that location because you don't want to jump around. Obviously,
Sure.
you got to finish everything in that one location, move, then do everything at the other location. So you have to keep all that about you. But it's just planning, man. You know, it's planning.
Mm-hmm.
It's making sure you have the right people in place
Mm-hmm.
to pull off the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But it's essentially the same thing,
Yeah.
you know, and you're moving fast. You know, we're doing a lot, 4 days an episode.
Yeah. Did you get to take when Netflix brings you on a series like that?
Yeah.
Do you get to recommend your team, or is it just like, no, these are the people that we're working with? Like, how does that work?
No, since they were shooting the series in Atlanta, and since I have done, you know, quite a lot of work in Atlanta, I already had the team.
Okay.
So I couldn't bring anybody, but I brought my team in from Atlanta, which it just was like inserting them into another movie, you know.
But they were stoked.
They were super stoked. Everybody was. I mean, everybody was happy to work, man.
Yeah.
It's been such a dry year. And so to make that experience and having somebody like Bert as your leader, man, he kept it very lively.
Was he asking you questions from Mermaid?
No,
really?
We would just talk.
Sure
we would talk about everything, man. Food, and he'd talk about, I remember I did this show and so, and one of the audience members asked me this, right? Yeah. So it was just shit like that.
That's funny. It
was fun.
Yeah, man. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's an eclectic group of projects there.
Yeah.
When you were asking Mel about Berserker,
yeah,
did he reenact any of the scenes for you?
Oh, of course.
Okay, good.
Of course. He did that in everything.
Okay, good.
I love
it.
Good. I love that he reenacts the stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's like he embodies the script.
The script. And the way he tells the story, you're just like, I'll go up a mountain for you, man. I'm there. Let's go. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's funny.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just I wasn't lucky.
No, that's very lucky. I mean, like that's
man.
like you get the front row seat to some gold. That's amazing.
That was a lot of fun. I was in a restaurant he was talking about. It was so much fun.
That's so epic. Because I was so impressed by that shot in Apocalypto when Jaguar Paul is on the edge of the waterfall.
Yeah.
And it goes over his shoulder, turns around and reveals him, and he becomes so tiny on this massive waterfall. And this was all pre-drones.
Yeah.
And
I
was like,
Panavision Genesis.
Yes, which blows my mind that they made that look so good. I think it was a 1080p.
Yeah, I think it was. It was Dean Semler.
Yeah.
You know, and he'd worked with him before, but just like, you know, I mean, Genesis had a run, you know. Sandler used it a lot in a lot of his movies and some other things, but it had a run, and it was like, it was a good image, you know, just the red came and cut its legs off, you know.
But I mean, I was just so impressed because I thought for sure initially when I saw Apocalypto, I thought for sure that was shot on film, and then that it was turned out to be the Genesis. And I remember asking him about that shot, that waterfall shot, and he was like, "Oh no, it's a cable cam." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know that people would set that up today." That means that they had to string a cable from one side of the waterfall all the way over to another side, which means they probably had some cranes or something.
Oh, sure.
And but it paid off because it blew my mind seeing that shot.
He did. Yeah, and he said out of all the films I think he's done, that's his favorite one.
It's an amazing film.
It is. It's such a piece of like amazing cinema. I didn't see that movie until, you know, over the pandemic. I'd never seen it. And my dad had always told me to watch it. I finally watched it, and wow.
Yeah.
It just blew me away. I watched it a few times.
Oh,
I love it.
So good, dude. The pacing is phenomenal.
I wish I saw it in the theater.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully one of these days the Arrow will show it or something like that.
Yeah.
But
that could be an IMAX one, man. God, that would be one that would really work if they blew it up to IMAX. That would be cool.
There's a great line in that where it says I believe he says like fear is a poison. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, don't be, he says to his son, right? Because his father is getting killed. And he says to his son, he's like, don't be afraid. Listen to me. Don't be afraid.
I remember.
Such a great scene.
Yeah, I know. And there's, again, working with people that are non-actors.
Yeah. Right.
And all those guys have kind of gone on to do their own thing. There's a few of them in there. I think the villain, he's put in some other things. He's done some things. It's just, you know, incredible, man, to insert yourself in the middle of a
Yeah.
rainforest.
Yeah.
Just, the locals and make a film like that. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, with Passion there, too, the resurrection story. Do you know is I'm so sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the name right now.
Cinematographer.
Yeah.
Oh, Caleb.
Yeah.
No,
Is he returning?
no,
No.
he's doing somebody else.
Okay.
He told me, I can't remember if the guy was from Europe, a European cinematographer, and I don't know exactly. I'm sorry, I'm blanking
Okay.
on the name, but he
Yeah,
told
yeah.
me that he's going for a different style in this one.
Got it.
So
Got it. Got it.
that's because of the
Oh yeah, it's
script.
like not even taking place in this reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all the different realms and
Yeah.
all that. So I mean, if you've seen him talk about it online, he's pretty much what he says there.
That's
He
wild.
told me, but I got into detail about certain things. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's going to be incredible.
I ran into Caleb because they were doing a get together at the ASC house, and I ran into Caleb, and I was just like, I wanted to show him some of the work that we had done with these horses, because when I saw Black Stallion as a kid,
Such a good movie.
I was just like blown away by that movie.
That's
I
a
must have
huge
watched it
influence on me,
1,000
man.
times.
Oh yeah, huge influence on me.
And
That'd be one I'd grab in the Criterion closet and talk about for 10 minutes.
right. Yeah, I know. We should do our own version of the Criterion Closet for sure.
I'd love that. That'd be great.
But yeah, I was talking to Caleb, and I was talking about the Passion, and because of Father Folco, and so we got to talk about Father Folco for a minute, because Father Folco is like pretty much the closest thing I had to a father figure.
Wow.
And completely changed the trajectory of my life entirely. And it was so cool to hear Caleb's stories about Father Folco and their experience, when they were shooting the Passion of the Christ.
Wow.
And just because, Father shared a bunch of stuff with me, but not everything. You know what I mean? It's always interesting how other people view you,
Right.
And I just thought that was such an amazing moment for me to hear that perspective from Caleb.
That's so cool.
But yeah, dude, I mean, I'm just so stoked. I'm so stoked that all these projects are just popping off for you right now. And
me too, man. I'm very, very blessed, dude. I mean,
just keep it going.
Very blessed, and had a lot of people looking out for me on the Netflix thing.
Yes,
friends that were. A friend of mine shoots Emily in Paris.
Okay,
it was the same production company.
Okay,
and another friend of mine had worked with the showrunner, creative, writers,
Yeah.
directors. He said something. My other buddy said something.
Yeah,
that got me the interview.
Amazing.
And when you have friends looking out for you, it's just you can't. They get you in the room. You gotta win it home.
You gotta deliver.
You gotta win it home. And so just because you get the interview doesn't mean you get the job.
Right.
You
right.
know? So you get the wedding, you gotta get the honeymoon. Right? So yeah, I mean, and it did. And I kept thinking to myself, like, I've only done like one comedy, and it was a short film. I did it with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, this movie she did with her husband.
Yeah.
And I've had comedy elements in the movies I've done, but
Sure.
my movies are normally edgy, dark, different kind of cinematography.
Sure.
And so I had to put together sort of 10 minutes of movies I thought would sort of resonate to this. And I got to the point where I got to 10 minutes. Like, this is enough. I ended up making 30 minutes.
Wow.
Sent the reel. They all loved it and all that. And then finally, after I got the job, I asked these guys, what was it? What was it about my work? Because it's not really aimed towards comedy.
Right.
And they said, that's why we picked you, because we didn't want it to be bright and ridiculously overlit. We wanted it to feel like a movie.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what you do.
That's exactly what I said to you the first time. Do you remember?
Of course.
I said there's some authenticity that I can't articulate, but it's so obvious.
And that's what Larry Shear's always told me is like, comedies don't have to be bright. They can be contrasty and interesting and lit dark and all that sort of thing. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
That's awesome. Wow, man. Yeah, dude. It's that's great, dude. I was gonna ask you one last thing about that, because shoot, you had mentioned oh, I know what it was.
Yeah.
Heat 2. Is Dante Spinotti returning for Heat 2?
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know who's going to shoot
Because
that. I
I
haven't
would
even
like
looked.
to put you forward for
Hey,
E2.
if you know Michael Mann, he needs a
I
guy.
know.
I'll do it.
God, I
I
feel like
love
that would
that
be
film.
perfect.
I've studied that film.
Yeah.
I saw that food. I remember seeing that movie in the theater.
Yeah.
You know,
If
I
Dante's not
loved
doing
it.
it, man, I feel like you would be
You're very
amazing.
kind. I'd love to
Seriously.
do that movie. Yeah, I
Well,
would be.
if you're not doing Berserker, for
Yeah,
Mel,
yeah. I mean, yeah, God, man, that'd be a dream.
Yeah.
To work with Michael Mann, that would be a dream. I mean, I'm sure. I know you worked with that Eric Metzger-Smith last time at Ferrari.
Right.
I know Eric's shooting the new Quentin Tarantino.
Is he?
David Fincher directed
Okay.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, he lost his home, and
Yeah, in Altadena,
jeez.
which is awful. But I'll tell you, I'll try to get in line in that one.
Well,
I mean, I hope Dante shoots it because Dante's the man.
I got to meet him too.
I did too.
The
I
same
took
day that I
lighting
met.
from him. At
That's
AFI.
right. We talked about
Yeah.
this.
He's the best, man.
Yeah. Man, that was a good day for me. I got to meet Caleb and Dante in the same day.
You were meeting legends, man. I learned about book lights from Dante.
Yeah. Yeah.
I stole all my shit from him, man.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so when I texted you that day, and you're like, "Oh, he used to teach us at AFI."
Yeah.
I was telling him everything you've been working on.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, that's great."
He's great. Let's have a cigar.
Yeah.
He's amazing, man. I know he's working with this guy Dion Taylor.
Okay.
And a buddy, one of my gaffers, did the Alto Kings movie
Okay.
with him, and he said he was just incredible.
Yeah.
Just guy's a legend, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just to still keep that high level of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going, man. I think the older guys, honestly, like Ed Lockman, Caleb, and Dante, those guys are just doing some of the finest stuff, man.
Yeah. I agree, man. It's what gives me some hope is that for the next few decades, hopefully we'll produce some killer films, I really do think it comes down to lived experience, like all the different stories you accumulate over your life,
Yeah, that's what I think. It's always life experience. I mean, I think Roger said that. Roger Deakins has said that before. Just like bringing your life experience to something, and that's important, and how you view the world and how you see this scene and what lights you would use and how you would color it is and all that, because we're all different, But that's why that life experience is a voice,
yeah,
and you have to use that. I believe in that 100%.
Dude, well, I'm so stoked for you, man, and obviously we're gonna have to do this again.
Hey, man,
After another couple of films,
I'll go the trifecta, bro. Let's go. I'm down.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and everything, and we'll do it again after another couple of films, and you got to let me know as soon as One Spoonful of Chocolate comes out.
Yeah, I will.
And
I'll hit all those up. I'll give you the blast. I will.
I'm gonna see it in the big screen.
Yeah, me too. I want to see it again. I've only seen it once, so
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Peace
Appreciate it.